here once again, 8 o'clock. It's December the 20th, Saturday, 2025. I threw those numbers and dates set up all over the place because why I can. How are you, everyone? And welcome to the podcast. Oh my goodness, let's get this thing refreshed so we can see comments and such. Hopefully, possibly, could be. I don't know. There's the cute pic of the morning. If you happen to see my good morning pic this morning with Flip and all the miscellaneous 3D things, now Super Duck there, I didn't print him, he was a gift. But also the incredible, wonderful, and I absolutely love and adore an official Gartoon Christmas card. And Gar the Ghoul tonight, Horrible Horror, over on Twitch TV. Be sure to check that out because it's fun and it's awesome. So hey, there I am. Okay, let's get that one pinned to the top. Pinning post. There we go, and keep up with comments as they come in because it'll be fun. Oh, so today in the topic you'll see I said that I kind of smell something funny going on. Well, I do, because again, in this Facebook space, which has changed a lot over the past 5-6 years, you get to talking about certain things. I don't care what they say as far as like lifting. Yeah, there's no shadow banning now. Yeah, okay. I do know that when it comes to like last night, if you tuned in for the virtual stump tour, well, you know, I got a funny feeling that more folks didn't see it than they normally do. And a very good morning to Gar and Damien and Thomas. I think you may be out there. But thank you for joining me for coffee this morning. And again, Gar, thank you so much for the incredible Gartoon Christmas card. I genuinely love it. And Caitlin just oohed and awed because she loves your art style. Oh my gosh. And I got to show you some more of her stuff that she's been cranking out and evolving with over the years. If you hear a hum from the printer, it's important that it has to happen today because I'm doing a thing. I'll share with you tomorrow at some point. But anyway, oh my gosh. So yeah, that was interesting. It was fun. And it was great in that last night I don't know. It was weird, man, because in doing that virtual stump tour, it's funny. It kind of reconnected to me to a part of me that's been gone for a very long time, and I like it. I like the feeling. I like all of it. I can't describe it better than just to say that it turned me back into, or reminded me of one of the two. I don't know. But it reminded me of a 19-year-old hungry kid who was working his way up in the business. Yeah, and I liked it a lot. So there's going to be, I do believe I'm going to be taking Gar's cue, though, when it comes to doing things. The coffee we're going to keep having the same way with the Facebook and the YouTube. We're going to keep doing it like that because I don't want to rock the boat on that because we've all gotten comfortable 51 episodes later. But I do believe all other content is going to be shifting towards Twitch TV and YouTube. And we'll see how that goes as far as like when it comes to getting reach, because Facebook is funny. It just is, and I don't care to bash the platform just because, well, that's just free advertising for them. Right, of course it is. But anyway, it was great because I got to try a few different things as far as like bringing the second screen in and being able to narrate with it and like stuff like this to where, hey, it's over here and there's the screen. See, I'm watching the comments as we go. Ta-da! Hey, look, they're showing a little love to Damien in real time. So my demo cam, it just didn't work out. But now this is the same camera and I have no issue. I guess it has an issue when it comes to showing off the cool, you know what? Ready to get a little, okay, hold on, vertigo alert. Let's see how this looks. Ooh, there it is. See, there's my little mini set over there with my official Gartoon Christmas card and the other little, what do you call it? I had the word and then I just lost it. Oh, shit. I forgot the word. Anyway, but the little stuff I printed that flushes out the set. How cool is that? And you can say, yeah, exactly. So, and we will still stream to other places, and so I just got to get acclimated to it, see how it plugs into the OBS operating system over here, and there's going to be a big change, good change, healthy change. Yeah. So anyway, that's happening. So what else is, no, it didn't. This is the second cam right here. It's like, and this is camera one over here. Camera one, camera two, camera two, camera one. See this camera right here? That was the demo cam, but for whatever reason, whenever I had it over there, it'd crap out. I don't know why, but we'll work that out. I hope that wasn't a loud scratch as I was scratching. Anyway, good. What else go? Let's kind of recap what didn't happen yesterday, because everybody was getting, once again, built up to this fever pitch of all these big reveals that will forever shape reality and society, and they didn't. Not at all. Let's see, the big E-Day drop of all those files and salacious stuff was a much ado about nothing. Same thing with the 3i Atlas being the closest to Earth. Got nothing. No probes, no abductions that I'm aware of. But then again, if you were abducted, you wouldn't be able to talk about it. However, I can see that everyone here is still here. So we made it. I do enjoy using the OBS system. I like it a lot. I've used, in the past, I've used like vMix. And vMix is a wonderfully powerful tool. And I like it. But I'm also cheap. So OBS can like satisfy everything that vMix does for the most part. And I'm good with it. It's like it just totally works for me. So, but that doesn't mean I'm not open to trying and learning new things, but I'm good. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do some more experimenting with things. But again, I've got a very busy list for today, which doesn't mean I have to get it all done today, but I'm just organized and ready for stuff. And yeah, that's it. How's your day and morning and week? He doesn't need an engineer. Well, not yet. Or if you're talking to me. Gar, he doesn't need one either. He's been chucking along and doing the thing. So anyway, what else we got going on? It's so funny because again, there's a big, I don't know, something just popped inside of me again, and it took me back a long time. I mean, really, it's funny to think that it was a long time ago because it didn't feel like it was a long time ago. But in getting ready for the stump yesterday, and again, it was the first time I had the opportunity. I was going to share this story, and again, this ain't about politics. Yes, notes are important, Damien. Keeps you somewhat on track, because this is not on the notes, so I'm going right off the rails. But it's like when I captured the 3 questions from Micah Ashby. Sorry, Micah. But when I captured those, she is running for U.S. Senate, and she's going up against a local fellow here, Jeb Little, as well as the incumbent Tom Cotton, which you're probably familiar with his name, because, you know, once you're in the machine, people may know who you are, especially depending on what you do. That said, it was cool because I was actually kind of sitting back here in standby mode to be able to do it here on the interwebs and record and all of that stuff. And it was so funny because as I was sitting here and Alicia was sitting over there, and we had everything set and scheduled, and so I'm just kind of standing by. And it's so funny because I was early to the post, just waiting, and it was so funny. I haven't felt like that. It's like catching a satellite feed back in the day. It's like you were sitting there and you were waiting for what was supposed to come to then be broadcast out to the world, and just standing by, just waiting, kind of looking over every now and then. Nope, not there yet. Okay, and it was funny, just remembering what those times felt like and looked like. And it all came rushing over me. And in the moment, and when then Micah and I were talking before we actually captured her piece that you see out there on the stump, it was funny because again, it just reminded me of things that go beyond what I've been doing, that I've done in the past. So I don't know, it was very surreal. And then when I got off the air with it, and it was all kind of just rushing in and drinking in and all that, I was like, huh. And my mind flashed back to 2 times in my career, again, back in the early and then up to the mid-90s point, when, again, my most favorite job ever was at KARN in Little Rock, Arkansas, back in the early 90s. Again, it was like the greatest gig that a young guy could ever have in the business because, again, KARN was number 2 in the market, but it was kind of a big deal because it was the news talk station. And or news radio, if you will, but we didn't call it that then. It was just news talk. But news talk, KARN, and the Arkansas Radio Network. And it was just a great place for me as far as in the broadcasting space because, again, it was 24-hour news and talk shows, and we had our live local crew with Bob Harrison in the morning, and then our more liberal guy, Pat Lynch. And Lynch was funny. I don't think he was ever intentionally funny. He thought he was, but Lynch was funny because, again, he definitely had a face for radio. And everything about Lynch was definitely made for radio. Imagine, and I mean this in the most respectful way I possibly can, but if you think of Rush Limbaugh, and then you take Rush Limbaugh, turn him into an albino liberal, and you got Pat Lynch. So anybody who's ever known Lynch or worked with Lynch, there you go. And back in those days, from time to time, I'd like fill in for his call screener, green room person, you know. Lynch was just funny. Again, I don't think he ever meant to be. He thought he was, if that makes sense. And then let's see, in the afternoons, we cut over to Limbaugh. And then from there, we had our afternoon drive. And at that time, Tracy, what was Tracy's air name? Tracy Allen. Tracy Thibodeau, real name. But Tracy Allen, he did the afternoon drive. That guy had the smoothest set of pipes you'd ever want to have in radio. He was just smooth. He read, the guy was top shelf. He and we had connected again a little bit later on in the Facebook land, all those decades later. And there's some stories in there too that were kind of career smashing at the time because of certain policies implemented by the FCC that weren't great, and don't care to go into that right now, but whatever. So then after Tracy, we went into, what did we go into for the evening? Trying to remember that 7 to midnight time. Gosh, I don't know. I don't remember. But I know that's when we would like cut away to baseball, like Arkansas Travelers baseball, when the legendary Jim Elder, sportscaster to the stars, man. Jim, probably one of the best sports guys in the business, radio that is. And Jim, it was so funny. He's the one who gave me my air name by accident. And again, this is no disparaging thing to Jim Elder at all, but it was funny. It was the first game of the Traveler season that year. And always respectful, that Jim Elder, with only one caveat. He'd always throw credit back to the guys back at the station and special thanks to our studio engineer, James Baumgartner. Problem is, this was like the top of the first. Well, by the time he got to the bottom of the first, I had become James Buchanan because he had stumbled through Baumgartner so many times, but then he settled on Buchanan and he was good with it. And so that entire baseball season, I was studio engineer James Buchanan. And then when I went to Kissin' 96 FM, I needed an air name because that was the thing you did back then. But the James thing didn't flow, and it's never really where it's the given the given name, you know. But Jim flowed a lot better. So Jim Buchanan, and then I used that moniker for a decade or longer. But anyway, but it was funny. But that's where the origin was. But then, of course, in the overnight, we went to at that time before Art Bell popped. We went to, it was Larry King, but Larry King finally made the full switch over to CNN. So we had his perennial fill-in host, Jim Bohannon, on the overnights there. And so, because, it was a few years before, just a few years before Art Bell really popped with Coast to Coast. And then in the morning, as we rolled back around the day, Bohannon had, I can't remember the name of the show, but it was like from 5 to 6, and it was kind of like getting you everything. Yeah, there you go, Damien. And that's what made me definitely change from James Buchanan to Jim Buchanan, because Bobby Harrison, he did color with Jim's play-by-play. It was so funny, because once it clicked in Bob's head what Elder was saying, I'd never correct Jim Elder. Who the hell was I? I was just a kid, man, so I just let that roll. But it was so funny because Bobby had made that comment. He was like, it's amazing to be working with the 15th president of the United States. And that was just kind of funny. And then when you realize that James Buchanan, the 15th president of the United States of America, led us into a civil war, not a great moniker to try to want to relate to. But that's, nobody called him Jim, right? No. But anyway, that was fun. But then again, like I said, then the mind fast forwarded a little bit over to up to 1995, and 95 was a really good time. I had been in Joplin at the end of 94 and going into 95, and I'd come back to Little Rock, and there I did a brief stint at what was KDUK 100 at the time, but then KSYG went on the air. It was the old KKYK. Y'all care, right? I don't care. I'm telling the story. We're having coffee. But anyway, they had made the switch from Top 40 Pop to the Talk FM. Remember how I told you KARM was like #2 in the market forever, which was a big deal because it was AM. And this is after AM was kind of not the thing anymore. Kissin' 96 FM was #1 country, KARN #2 with news, and then #3 was Power 92, which was the urban hip hop station. But that wound up finally overtaking both of those as the years went on. But anyway, KSYG with Phillips Media, they were ready to get into that news radio space, right? And so KSYG went on the air, or made the format change in 95. And I got there, or I went to work there probably about 3-4 months after the switch, and worked with great people. Norm Laramie was chief engineer and operations manager. Scott Mills was program director and my direct boss. And who else was there at the time? Of course, Hal Smith was the general manager, and Hal had been around forever in Little Rock Radio. Great guy. Of course, Philip Johnson owned the place. And I was surprised I get myself fired, but here's a funny one for you. Okay, one of the big things about KSYG, it gave me the opportunity to start producing shows. And so that year I got tapped to do the Halloween special. And so I built out a 6-hour block, started at 6 p.m., went all the way up to the midnight hour, and it was all news talk format, right? So kind of cut into the chase. But again, this is back in the days when you worked on things for weeks, if not months. And so I was working on the show, and again, this is the Halloween special. It's got to be spooky. It's got to be kooky. It's got to be all this stuff. And there was one particular evening, and I always burn the midnight hour. I loved to work. Back then, you couldn't beat me out of the station. But then again, they didn't care. They're like, well, just, I ain't paying you for it. And I was like, oh, whatever, shut up. But as we were prepping and doing and all this, and I'd be up there late at night. And then, of course, after that certain point, nobody else is in the station. It's just kind of doing the automated thing. And so I was in the production room, and I was working on some stuff. And then I went to go get a cup of coffee. And when I walked out of the production room, I saw the door at the end of the hall close. And I'm like, it was the one that went to the stairwell. And there were some other things that happened in that building that were kind of spooky, kooky, and documented by different members of the staff over different years. But anyway, it was so funny because I was like, somebody's up in here. So I went, and I got a little bit of a hurry there to get to the door to the stairwell. And I opened it. There was the first flight, and then there was the second flight. First flight, nobody there around it. Yeah, there's the second flight, and there was this Scooby-Doo looking villain, man. I mean, he looked straight out of a Scooby-Doo, and it was Philip Johnson. I was raring back to end his opportunity to be inside of the building. I was a little bit different back then in my overall expressions of communication. Anyway, so I was fixing to clock Philip Johnson, and because I didn't realize exactly who he was at that moment. But then once I did immediately recognize him, we all kind of I had a laugh. Well, actually, no, I didn't. Neither did Philip. But it was, I was like, I didn't know you were here. Because, I mean, he was like old then. I mean, imagine an old Scooby-Doo villain, and that was Philip Johnson. Just nice guy, though. I'm not, I mean, don't misread that. Philip Johnson was really a great guy. Other than the Christmas bonus that year sucked. We all wound up getting like these. His family also had a big pecan orchard down in Texas, and while we were doing the Christmas party thing, and Scott Mills and I were getting a little liquored up at the open bar. Don't tell anybody I was under 21. But anyway, we're getting a little liquored up, and we were waiting because we had just a stellar run getting everything on the air and everything working. So we were all expecting to get like a Christmas bonus bump that was going to be pretty cool. We didn't. We got a big ass bag of pecans from the Phillips family pecan orchard, and yeah, it was funny. Not really. But we had fun with it. Oh my gosh. But anyway, going back to the whole thing about last night, it was so funny. For the first time, and I cannot tell, well, I just told you how many decades, but I was in a newsroom again. I was producing again. Conversations that we were having off air, um, it may turn into something. They very well may. That again benefits that the whole virtual stump project. That from a news guy, producer, director, I think is very important. I don't want to say anything more than that right now until I push some, until I make some calls, possibly push some buttons. I need to get some things set up on my end to make sure everything can flow smoothly because this has been fun. It's all functional. It all works except for when the demo cam didn't want to work. Yes, Damien, I got Griswolded. Well, we all did. And I tell you, woo, and like I was saying, the liquor was flowing freely, so we did get that. So for that Christmas of '95, our bonus was free booze and quite the hangover the next morning. But anyway, yeah, it was fun. But again, I don't know. I'll tell you more as I go. But it's funny. I haven't had this fire in my belly and this attitude that I forgot was there before like the world gets a hold of you, you know. But this is great. Like I said, the setup works great. It's very super simple now. It's one of those things to where, again, from where I started, literally my first job in radio, I was still slip queuing records and cutting on 1/4-inch tape in production, right, with a 4-track. To where we are now. It's like, you know, I mean, my phone is more powerful than all the stations I worked at combined. It's crazy. But so sometimes it's easy to get lost in the mosh of all of how simple it is, and then it's so simple that it can't be true. It can't be real. This can't be how it's done. But yeah, it is. It is that simple. And in realizing that over the years, that's why I've like really leaned into like the teaching side of things when it comes to working with folks. I truly believe it is better to teach a man to fish versus feeding him a fish. That's the anti-capitalist in me in a way, because I feel guilty about it. You ever do that? I've felt guilty about the things that I can do for people because I think everybody should. Yeah, and there you go. Yeah, and to always have a supervisor boss man that's inspiring is nice, and I've always tried to be that guy because I remember what it was like at different stages when you didn't have that at certain places. And I can look back at certain places. I won't name them right now because I can't remember exactly which ones, or I forgot names because some people were just douchebags and I just kind of blacked them out after they were no longer part of my circle. But yeah, it's like to be able to inspire folks to do something. That's just the thing, man. I think that's part of the purpose of why we're here. That's why I wrote a book as it is, which I have not gotten your feedback on that, Gar. I'd like to hear that at some point, because one of the things I love about Gar the Ghoul, he is a very deep thought, well-read man. So that opinion is great. And anybody who has not left a review on Amazon, please feel free, because even if you didn't buy the book on Amazon, you can leave a review on Amazon. It won't give you that verified reader thing just because you didn't buy it through Amazon. But anyway, speaking of which, kicking off tomorrow, and I'm going to do the full run through Christmas, I'm going to do another free ebook giveaway by way of Amazon for Toys R Totems. Because I want to boost the numbers. That's just it. We got to play the game, right? Yep. I want to sell 11,000 copies of that thing, all total. And I'm not going to put those numbers, the freebie numbers, towards that total. But I need that push because it's how it works. If you're looking to write a book and you're wanting to do your own self-publishing and self-distributing, and you're using the Amazon platform, it's important to have all of those reviews and such, because again, it just moves you up in the algorithm and in the suggestions and things like that. That's why I'm doing that push. And again, it's a quick, easy read, not a whole lot. Just kind of catching up over here. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, when you get the good guy and then he has to go away because they're like, oh, this guy's too good here, send him somewhere else. Yeah, that sucks. But anyway, so that's happening starting tomorrow through Christmas, and it's a self-serving gift, because again, I want people to read the book. That's why I wrote the book. It was never a thing to where it was intentionally meant to be just my capitalism arm. Sure, of course, again, make some money, do that. That's the right thing to do because you got to pay rent to be on the planet. But At the same time, the message, that's the message is solid. I believe in it because it worked for me. That's why I shared it. And also, people need to learn to lighten up. Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. Yeah, anyway, so there's that. What else is on my little list? Not a lot. Like I say, it's Saturday morning, so we're just kind of free balling, free riffing. Yep, because this other stuff you will not care about at all. You're like, I don't care. That doesn't mean anything to me. But it might later once I get everything done here. And so I'm looking forward to it because, again, I got a fire in my belly again. And that's another thing that I want to share with any and everyone who catches in on this particular broadcast. It is, and it's so cliche and it's so stupid, but it's so true. Just start. Just do it. Just start. Don't worry about it. What was it? Warts and all. Just go. Just go. Because once you go, that momentum just keeps rolling, and you will continue. If you're on the track, you know you're not. You will know when you're on the right track of things. The synchronicities of things just start falling into place or falling away. But the main thing is start. You want to write a book? Grab a pen, write down the first word. Not even the first line, the first word. And then watch the other ones. Chase that one. And it'll happen every single time. My gosh. Yeah, I think you're gonna enjoy it, Garden. Like I said, I'm looking forward to your feedback because again, as I've explained to you what the book is and everything, I think you'll like it, or you will absolutely loathe it and say, "Burn the books, let's hold a rally," which I'm totally cool with. I would love 10,000, 11,000, 20,000 people to be so pissed off at something I said or did that they all buy my book just to burn it. I'm cool with that. Because guess what? You get paid anyway. And then you just print more books. Because that's that whole talk good about me, talk bad about me, just talk about me mindset. Hey, that sure is how it works. But yep, I don't know. But it was a great night last night in cracking an egg that I haven't cracked in a long time. And it was high in protein, heavily nutritious, all kinds of clunks along the way that weren't as clunky as before, thanks to this podcast and everyone who tunes in of the morning. Tune in. That is such an unnecessary term. I've got to get my verbiage properly. For everyone who logs in, yeah, there you go. Do you ever really log out? No. Which is funny because I caught just a little bit as I was like kind of getting caught up on the overnight and see what all is happening in the world. And just I'm seeing this. What would be the best way to put it? Like this emerging realism that's starting to hit people. Because again, the socials, and I've been saying this forever, there's always this up and down emotional roller coaster that you're on whenever you're on these platforms. Because it's like, ha ha ha, oh my God, that's terrible. And back and forth and up and down, right? And people have been all of us, we've been led through all these fever pitch things that like we're escalating to something and then the payoff is never there. It's like a bad Hallmark movie over and over and over. It's like because every one of them has the same plot, the same structure, and the same ending. So you're shooting for the happy ending. You know you're going to get the happy ending, but at the same time, when you get the happy ending, the way they got there was just crap. Um, just it was unfulfilling, and that's one of the problems with a lot of the stuff that's out there now. It's like the endings just they fall flat. They start with a strong premise, and then act two gets a little weak because it's not necessarily the most incredible reason for a montage, and then act three, it just kind of it just doesn't deliver on the initial premise. That's just my opinion. But also we've got so many things that fall into the categories of reboot, remake, rehash that it just gets so tired. And I understand why it happens. The corporations who own those IPs, they're just milking it for cash, and I don't blame them. Especially now that we see what's coming, because I'm telling you, that's my prediction. By this time next year, you are going to be able, you, America, are going to be able to license IPs from the big studios, such as Star Wars, Disney. So there'll be rules and guidelines that you'll have to follow. But an individual will be able to do it, to create, like taking fan fiction and putting it on steroids, right? And the rule structure on it will be interesting to see how they do, because again, like anything you put online, at best, where we are now, if you're actually looking to monetize an online product like a movie or a digital book or anything like music, especially music, you're looking, you've got maybe a 24-hour window to actually profit from your effort. Because why? Well, there'll be pirates everywhere, and everything online is free, right? It's been that way since online started. So yeah, that'll be a thing. But they're going to put the guardrails in some way, somehow, to keep that from being completely. I don't know, but just watch this time next year, because everybody, I'm so amazed, but at the same time not. Okay, the big trend that you've probably seen in the past 24 hours are all of these AI generated Christmas photos where the people who are like taking their, I haven't actually done the prompt in Chat GPT because I already know how this stuff works. So it's like, okay, whatever. But people are getting introduced to it by way of this Christmas prompt. And so everybody's getting the same, basically the same images spit out, but with their face on it. So digital AI photoshopping. And they look sort of great. They're fun. It's a novelty. It's just like when everybody went down the Bitmoji uh, off ramp, and then what was the other BitTunes? I think it was. I used that one. I love that one. And then actually in Gar, you had like customized the one that I had did of me back then. Um, but anyway, but it's just the novelty of it. But the problem, and well, not the problem. We'll just say we won't call it a problem. We'll call it the effects of it have been that those servers with OpenAI and ChatGPT have been overloaded. It's crazy with all the people doing this stuff. But just like having solitaire on your first PC so you could learn how to use the mouse and you didn't realize that's what was happening, with everyone playing along with this Christmas prompt, Christmas photo prompt, there was something that pulled them in to finally give the AI a shot. And that's why we are getting this deluge of these, everybody wearing the same Christmas outfit, one for the girls, one for the boys. And it's like, okay, here we are. Looking over there, yeah, that's the perfect size. Yeah, I'll share, again, I'll share what's rolling on the printer tomorrow because you can't do it. Shh, it's a secret. Um, but yeah, but this time next year, you'll be able to license intellectual properties, make your own Star Wars, Star Trek, Disney, any of the superheroes from Marvel or DC, and make your own movies. I, I can't say I guarantee it. I don't know 100%. But I'm 99.9% sure that's what's going to happen because we don't go to the movies anymore. Making movies inside of the system is still ridiculously expensive when it's unnecessary now. And what have I been telling you guys? If a corporation can automate something, they're going to automate it. Human beings in the equation are irrelevant. Hey, there's Thomas. About time you showed up, man. I've been waiting. Everybody was waiting. We were waiting on you, Thomas. We're like, dude, where's Thomas? And so, but Thomas is here now. Hey, everybody say hi to Thomas. But yeah, well, you know what? But here's the thing, though, Gar. It's like that you haven't jumped into the AI bandwagon, but the card is something that will never go away because we as humans, and again, in my overall overarching mission of everything, is to enhance organic creativity and connection in the world of AI and social media. Um, because we're still going to do that. And depending on how people go about it, a tool is a tool. So the AI can be a remarkable tool to use, not to be used by. And it will always be that way to where like, no matter what the tool is, there's going to be another, like, okay, again, the virtual stop, again, I put that together and I've done it for years to where it's a totally free platform for the candidates and the voters so they have a centralized place to look. Now, well, it started like with television here, and that was still a thing and it worked, but the online website type platforms allow for you to be able to stick it so it didn't just go off into the ether. And so now building that out again, and it's still the same mission. I don't want candidates to pay to simply say hi. And I don't want a voter to have to pay to go see them on this platform. A paywall. I think it's dumb. I think it's just not good. And again, it's a civic responsibility I feel is that I'll never let go of. And I like that term. The fourth branch of government is the media. And I just have a conviction to that belief. It's like my life now definitely over half of it has been committed to that cause in broadcasting and other mass media. So it's just a thing that I know I'm just going to do. And with the technology as it is now, I don't have to kill myself like I used to in doing these type of things. It's really super simple. I mean, literally, like when I get the 3 question videos, I have my phone, and now I wouldn't even have to, but I add in the little digi-mics here, so I got cleaner audio, and then I've got the selfie saver. I call it the selfie saver because, well, it kind of looks like a lightsaber, right? And actually, the way it works, it pops out there and then it goes up, and you got the feet for the tripod. Seriously, if you are in need of something to stabilize your shot, these little bad boys are awesome. I think they were $20 on Amazon, maybe 30, but totally worth it if you're needing to shoot video with your phone and you want it to look good, and it works really well. But the selfie savers, find them on Amazon today. But um, but that's it. That's all it takes. It's not having to lug around a big camera and a microphone with a cord, and then again, like with me, I mean, then a tripod that would be equally big and hunky to hold the big clunky camera. And now I did evolve to where I use the just the off the rack camcorders from Sony because they're top shelf quality, and they matched all the broadcast standards. It worked. Even though the old guys back then say, "Oh no, 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 that's inferior." Shut up, retiree. Sorry, Damien. No offense to you, nor you, Gar. But anyway, it just get off my lawn when it came to that stuff, and I fought that so much when people would, certain people would like see me with just a very light gear pack because I got tired of carrying the big stuff, man. And the more I could condense that down into something useful, mobile, travel friendly, and not hurt my back, I did it, and my quality was on par, and in some cases better than what they were doing with the big hunky stuff, you know. But then again, I wasn't trying to keep up appearances, and that's what a lot of it's like. Okay, like even right now with this podcasting thing, I I've got a boom arm and a microphone that I could use because you need a good mic. I mean, you got to have good audio with your video, right? But once I realized that these little things with a magnetic clip, that's nice. Totally wireless, that's nicer. And it's small and it's not in my face. And I don't have to stay up on it, chewing on it so you can hear me. Because if I turn to the left or I turn to the right, then audio drops. And I don't want to just sit here static. That sucks. Um, and it's, there you go. So I'm glad to see you're playing well with everyone. Everybody in the room right now, Thomas, is like really great, great folks. And if you happen to be sitting still tonight, which I highly doubt, you are a mover and a shaker, sir. I know this. But get over, and if you guys, Gar or Damien, either one, if you would put a link up to Gar's Horrible Horror Show on Twitch, Thomas, you got to check it out, man. It's a lot of fun, and I think you'll dig it. Don't worry, he doesn't do the scary stuff. I'm not saying Thomas is a baby when it comes to scary stuff, but maybe, maybe. Anyway, I'm just playing. But again, it's like, to keep up with that normal, with the norms, there's certain things that I did trap myself in that you had to have for certain productions. It has to look like this. It has to do that. That was so stupid that I fell into that rut. And the main reason that I fell into that rut, and I share this tip because it may be something that you've done, is that since it's always been that way, it may not be that you're trying to keep up with the way that it's always been, so much as it's comfortable and easy because it's comfortable. And that's where the complacency builds in and creativity goes into a slow death spiral. Like, okay, again, going back to like at KARN, we were still doing everything the old fashioned way with reel to reel tape and cutting with a blade and all this stuff. Of course, the satellites were beaming everything in, and we were catching it and putting it on the air or recording it to play later. But then by the time KSYG came around in '95, that was the first time I had experienced digital audio editing tools. And that, well, actually, and at the end of KARN, we got, what was the name of the system? Not that it matters, but it was the first time we had a digital computer device that you could load the commercials and like the bumps and every music beds and things like that onto in the control room. So instead of like, stacking up carts that look like 8-track tapes, instead of having to stack up the carts to then plug in and hit the button But we had those cool sectones, so it would like fire off in order, unless the damn thing wasn't working, and you had to keep listening in case it wasn't, so you could hit the next button. But anyway, that was so KARN, and I guess that was probably 93, early 94. No, it had to be early 93. Early 93, that system came in. Damn, I can't remember the name of it. But it doesn't matter. But the operations manager for the Arkansas Radio Network, Paul White, great guy. Oh, excuse me, Paul Rice. Paul Rice, great guy. And he mastered that thing. I mean, he just boom. He mastered it so much. The company that invented, created, distributed it would call Paul for technical support. I mean, he got that good, and they wound up offering him a job. And Paul took it and did pretty well for himself. For the last, about a long time ago, since I've talked to Paul. But anyway, when I got to KSYG, and that's when we had Cool Edit Pro show up in the production room, and that thing was a miracle worker, because again, it gave you infinite tracks instead of just 4 on a reel-to-reel tape deck. So and they were all stereo. Every track was stereo. Oh my God. For the non-audio producing people, you may not appreciate how big that a deal that is, because like, see, in the 4-track days, because most radio stations had 4 tracks. I mean, you may have had a giant board, but when it came back down to recording, you had a 4-track. There was, I mean, to go like the big monster machines, that we were doing radio, man. We weren't producing the Philharmonic, But looking back on that, and the reason I bring this up is that, like, at every step of technology, now for me, once I saw what Cool Edit could do and I accepted it begrudgingly, then I saw how much more I could do inside of this machine, to where I could have multiple tracks, 10 tracks, 20 tracks, whatever I needed, to lay different sound effects and voices and all this other stuff that expanded the production that I could do. And so for the longest time, the illusion was that those type of commercials could only be produced through one of the agency houses, right? And the big production houses out there at the time. And I was like, well, why? We can do it. Because I never believed in that anyway. I mean, there was a time once, I was at Quick 99 in Searcy, Arkansas, and I was in the production room, and I had an idea for a bit, and it was like, oh God, I think I had 6 voices going on in this thing. It was a game show bit, and it was like totally a throwaway thing. It was like it was a PSA campaign, but I was on a mission, and so I was going to do this very big audio production of it, right? And again, now there, all I had was a 2-track. So I had the 2-track reel-to-reel, and then I had a 6-decker cart machine. And so I could like load 6 different carts in there. And I would do this. This was me back in the day. And I loved the art of it because it was like full orchestration, right? I'd have it because I didn't really like using the tracks on a 2-track or a 4-track. I didn't like it because it was just so ethereal, if you will, because it was a pain. I didn't like it. Well, for me. But my buddy Lance, though, oh my God, he was the king of the 4-track, man. Damn, he could rock that thing. But what I did is, after I wrote my script and I knew where we were going with it and everything, and I would record the individual voices onto the carts. Again, look like 8 tracks. But I would record onto the carts, and you would have to, like, after you record a line, hey, this is Jim, stop. Put a sectone. No, actually, no, you would not put a sectone, excuse me. But because I would have to manually hit all the buttons in order and in sequence while I'm interacting with them. So I've got the live mic doing the narrator bit, and then I would have my character voices staged out and stacked out on the carts, right? So it would be, but now here's the kicker. It's like, okay, well, that's not a big, you're just doing drops. Well, here's the thing. I was wanting to go and do a live time linear recording, right? So I do a live time linear recording, stacking all these bits up, and I had to orchestrate this and looking like Bugs Bunny in that one old cartoon. I was like, but all the while not missing a mark. And it was great. The only thing that did suck, though, and then I mentioned the sectone again, is in the event that somewhere along the way, one of the carts would fire off the other cart before it needed to fire, and then I'd have to start the whole damn thing from scratch. So I'd have to go back, hit the button, hit the button, hit the button, hit the button, until I got back to the top mark on that thing, and that was such a pain. But it was worth it. God, what a great time. But the thing is, though, and the reason all of this story exists right now is because in those days and at that time, and when I got introduced to the digital and saw what the digital would allow me to do without having to do all this, because I was cool with not having to do that. A little reluctantly, I just got entrusted. That was all. But once I did, and then saw, and then I knew I could take my production to the next level on that. I was like, awesome. But the problem came where other folks saw the ease of use and then stopped. They kept doing the exact same thing they were doing before, but it was easier and faster now. And instead of pushing themselves to see how far they could go with the new machine, hell, that's good enough. And that's one of the problems with these advances in technology. It's that whole, if you just because you can doesn't mean you should type mentality. It's like it sucks. It's like where you get this, this fire from Olympus, the latest version of the fire from Olympus, to where you can then go and push yourself a little bit more. And truth be told, most people don't. They stop. It's like, okay, for instance, now I'm playing with the idea because now I did play with ChatGPT's new image generation. Yeah, see, exactly. And that's one of the things that, like with the OBS and so many buttons to push. But with that said, like I said, I played with ChatGPT, the new image generation that was comparable to Nano Banana, and it is. And I generated this after a few different passes. But here's the kicker, is they gave me an idea, and I ran with it, and I was able to sketch it out in like the coolest way possible, right? Because I can't draw, and definitely not like that. Damn sure ain't an inker and a colorist. But this did a thing, and then that led to being able to make up the toys. They're in-action figures at the moment. Ta-da. And of course, the arch nemesis of the story. But the most important thing, more so than just the cool little fun little things I can make now with just the push of a couple buttons, is I can focus on the story because I'm the writer. And that's what I want. That's just who I am. Everything starts with pen and paper with me. And gravity. I'm sure that sounded great. But anyway, so I can focus on story, which will allow me to actually write a good story because I'm not limited. Sort of like what George Lucas was saying when it came to like the prequels back then. He couldn't tell the story he wanted to tell because the technology of the time wouldn't allow for it. Then once he developed through ILM and the most talented people in visual effects ever, the technology to where he could tell that story, he finally did. And I don't begrudge anyone for that. I just won't. I mean, it's like disclosure. You must tell. Why? You don't care. I don't care. Not when it comes down to it. I'm not. There are people who will always be the purist that, well, vinyl was far warmer than compact discs. Maybe, but then they fixed it to where the compact disc and the digital audio, you can add warmth to it. As far as like that EQ stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just you're going to have the people who want to fight change, and that's fine. Fight all you want. But then look back as you go into your next, or before you go into your next battle against change, look back at the previous changes that you fought. And did you win? I don't know. I know me, I would not want to. I know it was probably about 12, 13 years ago. I had the opportunity to get my hands on a reel-to-reel 2-track. I was like, well, that'd be fun. It wasn't fun. It wasn't because I had to remember how to thread the damn thing. And for something that I did around the clock at one point, and I kind of forgot how to thread it, and some of the other little tricks you could do with the thing to do neat stuff. I forgot all that. And as a hobby, sure. But as a functional tool, not so much. But then again, I'm still the same sucker who I've come across some of the cameras that I used before, and I was like, but I found it for like $10. And it was like a little Sony handheld jobby, and it was like $10. The one I had back then cost me $500 for the exact same camera. And it's like, damn, devaluation. But in doing that, it was, I don't know. But the main point in that is, as you introduce yourself to new technology and you challenge yourself to push you to use it to where it's freed up time. Because then we do get a great benefit out of things. And like I say, I'm going to be able to sit down and write the story I want to write without the limitations of being able to draw it. And here's the thing, I'm doing this thing it's for me. I want to see it come to life. And then will I make it available to the public? Maybe. If I feel it's got some worth to people, will I sell it to the public? I don't know. Maybe, because if there's like a physical thing going on, well, that still you're not going to get around that too much. You can cut the cost way down, but there's still a thing to it that you got to think about, yes, stupid costs, but they're much lower than they ever were before. Again, it's like, You can't beat that, where we are in that. So I just encourage you, as you learn new things, ask yourself, what can it help you do to get even better and further with what you do, right? Now here's one of the drawbacks though that I do see that I want to put in front of your head. Front of your head, not back, but in front of your head. With everyone who is playing with the AI for these with that Christmas prompt for photos, um, it is also giving you a false perspective. Okay, sort of like the folks who have become so addicted to filters on their photos. I'm sorry, Bucky, but you do have pores and you do have wrinkles, and you're going to have them when the camera's not on. Don't be plastic. Be careful of that, because again, that it's like for all the years that like Barbie would get trash for what was the term, providing false expectations of what the female form should look like, and the same thing could be said about He-Man, right, for guys. But the thing is, now with the digital stuff, everything that goes into these receptors here called eyeballs, the brain will, and the subconscious will definitely record it as a thing, as a real thing. You gotta be careful with that. That's how we get desensitized to stuff. And anyway, but what I'm saying here is, when you play with those things and it generates images of you, it's not exactly you ever. It's just not. It can't. It's not allowed to. It cannot give you an absolute rendition of you. It can get very, very close, but it's not. But with some of those, like this Christmas card prompt or Christmas photo prompt, you're getting it's like Alicia played with it yesterday, and she showed me the thing it did with me, and I'm like, it was fat shaming me, man. I'm like, my belly wasn't in that picture. I'm like, what the hell, man? Slimmed me down, made me all like look younger, and I'm like, no, I don't like this. I just don't. Don't fat shame me, computer. Yeah, it's just that type of thing, you know. But people will get pulled into it, and then they will either feel inferior because they don't look like that, or they will believe they do, and that's not necessarily healthy. Because isn't it funny when you really think about how long of a time that photography has existed? Not really that long in the grand scheme of things. And before photography, when it was portrait stuff, painting portraits and everything, there was still some artist discretion, amazing, fantastic artists of antiquity that did things. But before they actually got serious with it in the Renaissance and started making people look like people other than just sticks, people didn't really get to see themselves. You started off with a pond of water. Ooh, what the hell is that down there? To someone figuring out the mirror, which is a fascinating idea in and of itself. You ever think about that? Stop and think about the first person who thought a mirror was a good idea and something to develop, and then they did it. And they're walking. Can you imagine? Salsa! Somebody got burned at the stake. I guarantee it. Every step of the way. So yeah, but that mirror, well, that water in the pond, turning into the mirror on the wall, turning into the lens or to the refractive lenses inside of a camera, etc., etc. And how we get here today. But what do you do with it once you got it? Do you keep doing the same thing but faster and easier, or do you push yourself to where that base foundation is faster, easier, but the next level of things that you can push yourself to that you didn't know you could do is a challenge again? Then it becomes faster and easier as you master it. I don't know. There's your morning pep talk on a Saturday morning, December the 20th, 2025. My coffee got cold because I've been rambling. So, but I'm gonna, again, it was a great energy that came about me last night, and a feeling that I haven't felt in 30 years. And I like that. I do. I like it a lot. It's because I'm grabbing hold of it and I'm using it. So you're going to see some changes in the background around here and some of the other presentations. But again, and I'm going to explore other platforms because, and kind of where I started on this thing, that funny, spooky feeling when it comes to how these things work. Since the subject matter of the virtual stump is political, it's not really a political thing. It's non-biased. It's middle of the road. It's every candidate on a ballot to just say who they are, what they do, and why you should vote for them. But that can be labeled a thing, and that will get you. You'll get throttled. I don't give a damn what they say. I know it does because I can look at numbers on the backside. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. So just kind of glance at the guy. You guys are getting along so good. Yes, you do need to write a story, Thomas. You know what? And if you wind up in a psych ward, guess what? You can write the sequel in quiet. Go for it. And I will bring you cookies. I will. Um, that should be kind of a nice break for me too. Um, but yeah, so anyway, push yourself. Use the tools. Use the tech. Don't get used by it because we already are. So anyway, I need to get back to this. I got this list here. I got a place to be here in a few. Not immediately, but and then I got to go push the button again. So anyway, you guys have a fantastic Saturday. We'll do it again in the morning at 8 a.m. because I am now completely addicted to this whole thing. And we're going to see where it goes with a much younger Jim. Now, if I could just get the body to be that same kid who tore the hell out of it. It is like the question, if you could say anything to the younger version of you, what would it be? What would I say to younger Jim? Dude, you really are not immortal. And at some point, all these things that you're doing like at rocket speed around the clock is going to catch up in the form of type 2. Stop it. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have changed a damn thing. I may be limping right now, but boy, I was running like hell back then, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm going to keep running. Anyway, let's get out of here. Let's do this thing. Let's go find the second screen thing so it can end properly. That's the wrong one. And I am going to turn this one off and this one on, and that'll be fine. I'll turn that one off too because I changed the text and it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit properly now. Anyway, guys, go have a magnificent Saturday and the rest of your weekend. And also next week, go ahead and plan on doing a good one too because it's Christmas and you just should. So anyway, till the morning, enjoy your day, stay fun and have fun. Check out Horrible Horror tonight on Twitch TV with my buddy Gar the Ghoul. He will make your evening amazing. And if you don't, that's on you because I know he's going to do a hell of a show. Good night, everybody. Oh, wait. Good morning, everybody.